Hello ladies and gentlemen, Sonic Yoda from SEGADriven, and welcome back to this year's 2018 Sonic Amateur Games Expo coverage. In this video we're going to be taking a look at Sonic the Hedgehog, or Sonic Next, an attempt to port and improve Sonic 06 to PC. And I say attempt because, oh boy, does this have some problems. So first and foremost, let's talk about improvements, because there ain't many. The main one being the loading times are a lot quicker. Transitions between sections in the stage happen a lot faster than they do in the original game, which is nice because loading times in the original game are a huge issue. The other thing is, I suppose this looks a little bit nicer. They've gone for a nicer lighting engine, and there's this sort of lens flare grit thing going on the screen, which looks quite nice as well. So yeah, it's certainly a pretty looking thing. Right, now problems, because there's quite a lot here. So the first one is this sort of snowboardy section at the start here. This is now a pain in the arse to play, because they've given you a lot more control, whereas before you were still... You had control, but during the sections where you jump off the ramps, the game would guide you a lot better and you wouldn't fall down the pits too often. Whereas we fell down the pits an awful lot playing this, and it was incredibly frustrating. You often find that you end up playing this like the game wants you to play it, which is very similar to Sonic 06 in that if you try and go off the beaten path or play it a different way, it really punishes you for it. So you can't make mistakes. You really need to stick to the path rigidly and learn all the idiosyncrasies of the weird physics, because they're still here. And if anything, I think it's kind of exacerbated a lot of the problems. For example, grinding seems to be a lot slower in this version. You don't seem to gain the same momentum. That might just be because in the original version you're very stuck to a sort of strict roller coaster type path, and in this one you have a little bit more control. But like I say, it just exacerbates the problem. The other thing I really don't like is defeating enemies, in that it's very difficult to tell that you've actually done it. They've added like this new sort of death throws animation for a lot of the enemies, and it's just really difficult to tell whether you've actually killed them. You know, you often find that you end up running into an enemy again thinking that you'd actually hurt it when you hadn't. Annoying. What else? It's Sonic 06. Why does this need to be like ported to a different system? There's barely any improvements here. It still plays as terribly. It's not very intuitive. There are a couple of improvements in regards to Crisis City. There's a section where you get launched off a ramp and you run through a building and you pass some rings. Whereas in the original version you never seem to be able to collect those rings. In this one they've actually put you on the correct path and you do collect them, which I suppose is an improvement, but it's nothing special. I just find myself flinging myself down pits an awful lot, like the original game, but again, the way this works exacerbates the problems. I think you can only really homing attack things unless they're on the screen, which meant that I often flung myself down a pit when I knew that there was a character there that I could hit, but because it wasn't in view, the game decided, no, you're not having any of that. This is just enormously frustrating to play. Sonic 06 is a terrible game. This is not doing an awful lot to improve that. So it's still a terrible game, I'm afraid. If you have any inclination to enjoying Sonic 06 for whatever reason, I suppose you'll enjoy this as well, because it's pretty much the same game, just with shorter loading times and some slight graphical improvements. But other than that, it's just a really frustrating thing. The amount of times I threw myself down pits or got hit by things that I couldn't anticipate because the camera's so wonky. That last like high speed section where you're running along the road and things are coming out of a tornado and trying to batter you, that is just incredibly infuriating even now. And yeah, the amount of times I died there, I mean, I've completed 06 quite a few times for whatever reason. I don't know why I continue to keep playing it, but yeah, this is just as bad, and I would not recommend it, regardless of how you feel about the original. Sonic 06 is a bad game. This is a bad game. That's all I can say, really. Don't bother.